Great. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining to our first webinar of this virtual series on applying to graduate school in the USA. My name is Naomi Lauseker. I am an Education USA advisor in Ciudad del Este, Paraguay, and I am joined this afternoon by my fellow advisor, Sandra Sanabria. Her office is located in Asunción, inside the CCPA in Asunción. And we also have a very special guest. I'm going to be introducing her in a couple of minutes. But before we start with her presentation, I would like to tell you all about Education USA. So Education USA is a US Department of State network with over 430 advising centers or offices around the world. We are located in more than 175 countries and territories. Here in Paraguay, we have 3 offices. As I mentioned before, my office is located in Ciudad del Este. It is inside the Rectorado of the National University of the East, the UNE, known by its acronyms in Spanish. And we have another office in Asunción, inside the CCPA, and where our senior advisor, Mrs. Veronica Wieser, works, as well as the advisor, Sandra Sanabria. And we have a third office that's located inside the main library at the National University in Asunción, located in San Lorenzo. So if any of you are around these cities, please feel free to come and visit us once we are open again. Because due to our emergency around the world, all of our offices are working completely virtually. So if you have any questions or you need more information about studying in the USA, we are happy to provide that via our email accounts and our presentations that we held virtually. And the mission of Education USA, why we exist, is to promote US higher education to students around the world. And we are happy to do it here to our Paraguayan students by offering accurate, comprehensive, and current information about opportunities to study at accredited institutions in the United States. So Education USA is your official source on US higher education. And before we start, I would like to also invite everyone on this call to join us this Saturday, the 19th of September. So September 19th, mark that day on your calendars. We are going to be having the Education USA Fair with 100 US institutions, universities, and colleges. They are all going to be talking about their programs and answering your questions. You can communicate with all of them. I am happy to announce that Suffolk University is also going to be there present. So if you would like to know more about Suffolk University, feel free to come and join us this Saturday. In Paraguay, time is going to be from 8 a.m. until 12 o'clock. Is that right, Sandra? Is it until 12?
Hi, it's gonna be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and I'm gonna leave the link in the chat so you guys can register.
Excellent, great. Thank you, Sandra. So it's not from 8 a.m. It's from 9 a.m. And yes, great. So let me go ahead and introduce our most important person here today. We have Emily Corman. She's the Assistant Director of Graduate Admissions at Suffolk University in Boston. And we are thrilled to begin our virtual series with her. She's going to be talking about general application requirements for graduate school. Or just Grad School 101 as her presentation has it here. So Emily, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm really happy to be here with you this afternoon, talking to you about Grad School 101. As Naomi already mentioned, my name is Emily Corman. I am an assistant director in the Office of Graduate Admission here in Boston at Suffolk University. Suffolk is a mid-sized university. We're about 5,000 students right in the heart of downtown Boston. We have over 50 graduate programs to offer to meet your needs, and about 20% of our student body are international students. So it is a really exciting place to go to school with a diverse student body. So I'm happy to be sharing what I know with you this evening. To talk a little bit more specifically about my own experience. So I worked in higher education for about 4 years, and at Suffolk specifically for about 2.5 years. In my time at Suffolk, I have worked with applicants to programs like interior architecture and graphic design. Currently, I work with finance, management studies, accounting, and tax. So you can see I have experience with a lot of different types of applicants. And so I am excited to share with you my insights about all of those different programs. So our agenda for tonight, first we are going to talk about why you would consider graduate school in general. After that, we'll touch on the best ways to search for your graduate program. And then we will talk about the application process and how you can stand out during the application process. We do also have the Q&A available in the chat. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, just put them in the Q&A box and I will answer those at the end of the presentation. I'll be sure to leave some time for those. So first, why would you consider applying for a graduate program? I have already touched on sort of the variety of programs that there are for graduate schools and even at Suffolk on its own, but there are a lot of similarities across different disciplines. So let's dive into some of those reasons. First, earning a graduate degree is truly an investment in yourself. I'm sure that you all have heard about the benefits of earning a bachelor's degree on the impact of your employability and your potential earnings. So earning that bachelor's degree is certainly helpful, but then earning a master's degree sort of extends that benefit. It just accelerates that progress you've already made. Next, a master's degree can have a big impact on the rate that you are employed and also your earnings potential. So on average, people with master's degrees in the United States can earn about $35,000 US more per year than someone who just has a bachelor's degree. Of course, that is a very general figure. In a specific field, especially high demand fields, that figure could even be higher than what I've just told you. Next, another reason, this is probably the most popular reason that I hear when I'm speaking with prospective students. Getting a graduate degree can help you get noticed. It can set you apart when you're looking for a job. In some disciplines, a master's degree is going to be required for you to move sort of to the next level of your career. In certain disciplines, even you are going to have you're going to have to earn a master's degree to get an entry-level position. So it's really important to do your research and see what is required for you. Finally, expanding your network. Again, a super important reason to be going to graduate school. A recent LinkedIn study found that up to 85% of positions are filled via networking. In fact, some experts estimate that anywhere from 70 to 80% of positions are filled before they're even posted. So that means those positions are being filled with connections, filled via networking. So it is so important to have a strong network to lean on when you are looking for a job after graduation. So now you've decided you do want to go to graduate school. How do you find a program that is a good fit for you? So there are a few things I would encourage you to think about. First, you should decide what region or what country you want to be in. This is for the very simple reason that your network is going to be at its strongest locally. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use your network to sort of leverage yourself in a different country, in a different city. Your network is always going to be useful in that way, but it is at its strongest where you've attended grad school. A perhaps even simpler reason to think about location is even if your graduate program is 1 year or 2 years, you're probably going to be looking for an internship or a job after graduation. So you're going to be spending some significant time in this place. You really want to find a location that you like spending time in. Next, another tool you can use when looking for graduate programs is rankings. So rankings can be very useful when you're looking for schools that perhaps you're not familiar with, but I would encourage you to use them just as a tool and not the sort of deciding factor. I think rankings, again, can be helpful to show you what sort of important programs, what important aspects are on campus, but it's really hard to quantify things like a right fit with rankings. So again, it's just one tool in your toolkit. Next, if you do have the option to visit campus, I would encourage you to do that. Obviously, that is not an option for most of us right now, but the good news is I think a lot of schools are offering lots of virtual campus visits, lots of virtual events. So take advantage of those when you can. Finally, I would encourage you to talk to as many people as possible. So try and find connections to current students, find connections to alumni or to faculty, sort of getting a feel for what the people on campus are like. Again, you're going to be spending a lot of time there. If you're not sure how to make those connections or you've tried and you just can't really make that connection, don't hesitate to reach out to the admission office. Chances are they already have that connection and are happy to make an introduction for you. If they don't have the connection that you want, they certainly can put you in touch with someone who does. Now let's dive a little bit more specifically into the actual application. So when admission officers are reviewing applications, there are 3 basic things that we are looking for. First, we want to assess your academic preparation. We want to see how your goals are presented. And finally, we want to assess your communication skills. So when we're looking at academic preparation, the first piece that we look at is your transcripts. So obviously this will show us sort of what your track record is so far in academics. At Suffolk, we have a holistic review process for most of our graduate programs. So what that means is your transcripts, your GPA are a very important piece of the application, but they are one piece. We're looking at every part of the application just as equally. We also are going to be looking at standardized test scores. There are 2 major groups for test scores typically. So the first, you will have sort of your academic standardized tests. So those are usually the GMAT or GRE. The other standardized tests are going to be your English proficiency exams. So those, the most popular, are going to be the TOEFL, the IELTS, the Duolingo exam is sort of getting more popular right now, and then PTE academic is another that you might hear. Again, check with the schools that you are applying to see which exams they accept, so you can sort of prepare the best that you can for the specific exam. Finally, when looking at academic preparation, we are going to be reviewing any additional sort of miscellaneous supporting documents like a portfolio. So that would be specific for one of our art and design programs, but look closely at your application requirements to see what else you might be asked to submit. Next, when we are trying to assess your goals, we're going to first look at your essay. So this can also be called a goal statement or a statement of purpose. Typically, we are looking to see, how much have you thought about this decision to apply to graduate school? Why are you applying to my school in particular? And what is it about this program that really drew you in? Next, we are going to review your letters of recommendation. We want to see how you have spoken with your recommenders about these programs. What were the highlights that you communicated to them, and what do they have to say about you and your potential growth? Finally, for communication skills, again, we're looking at your essay. I think these are a little bit easier to grasp. For your essay, obviously, we're looking for your written communication skills. Again, looking to see sort of how clear and concise you are more about you. I think the two things that I would also like to highlight about the essay and interview is these are potentially the only two parts of the application where we can hear directly from you, directly from the applicant. It is always my goal as someone who's reviewing applications. I want to learn about you. What's your story? Why have you decided to take this step? And those are the two biggest places that I learn that information. So let's dive in a little more specifically to each of these requirements. So for the essay or goal statement, please go ahead and just treat it like a cover letter. It should be well written. It should be clear to me as an admission officer that you have spent some time with this document. The first thing that I look for is, are you answering the question that we have asked you? So at Suffolk, for most of our graduate programs, we have a very general prompt. We want to know why you have applied to this program and why Suffolk is what you think the best fit for you. Other schools may ask very specific questions for their goal statements, and so they are going to be looking to see if you're paying attention. One way to make sure you're really answering that question is to take a first pass at your essay and then give it to someone whose opinion you trust, but without putting the prompt on it. If they can read your essay without seeing the prompt and then telling you what the question was, you know that you have done a good job of answering that question. If their question doesn't really match up with what the prompt was, you know that you have some more work to do. Just go back and rework that essay to make it a little bit more clear. The next piece of advice is pretty easy. Just pay attention to the word limit or the page limit. It is very easy to get carried away, I think, sometimes. Prospective students are so excited to be talking about their graduate program, really excited for this next step. But if an office has asked you for just 2 pages, it is always better to adhere to the 2 pages than to go over. Really exercise control there. Finally, we again are looking to zero in on why you are applying. I want to see that there has been some clear thought on your part about why my program is going to best serve your needs and how it's going to fit in with your career goals. One final note about the essay is, we all know you're probably going to be applying to more than one program, and that's great. You should have options. It is always off-putting to me when I'm reading an application for Suffolk and the name of another school pops up. Please take the extra few minutes to review your essays and make sure that the name of another institution is not in your essay. I think also it is quite important in your essays. Really highlight what your takeaways were in those. That will help you sort of stay away from putting a different university name. Next, let's talk about the letters of recommendation. I think the most popular question that I get about letters of recommendation are, who should I ask? So typically there are two different types of recommendations. First, you may be asked to provide academic letters. So those usually are going to be a professor, maybe an advisor of yours. The other type is usually a professional letter of recommendation. So that can be a coworker. Sometimes schools will specifically ask for a direct supervisor. Again, look and see what they're asking you to provide. If you ever are in doubt about what type of letters you should be submitting, don't hesitate to ask the admission office. We are here to help you. We want to help you put together the best application that you can. I think just as important as who you should ask for letters of recommendation is who you should not ask for letters. Really at the top of the list of who not to ask is going to be anyone who only knows you in a personal way. So that would be family members, friends, neighbors. You know, at the top of my mind right now is I recently read a letter of recommendation from a mother. It was such a sweet letter. She loved her son so much and really thought that he would be successful. But unfortunately, she really couldn't give me that professional or academic viewpoint. And so I had to ask for another letter of recommendation. Once you have identified who you want to ask for letters of recommendation, there are a few things that you should do to prepare your recommenders. So first, set aside some time just to talk to them. If you can, take them out to lunch or to coffee and treat them to lunch or coffee. That really is not an option for everyone, I know. So if that's the case, even setting aside 20 minutes or half an hour to talk to them is great. Tell them which programs you're applying for, because they're likely going to be submitting different letters or different documents to each university. And then talk to them also about why you're choosing each program, what elements you like about each, so that they can call those out in their letters of recommendation as well. So back to standardized testing, we've already touched on the two different types of testing. So for the GRE or GMAT, sometimes at schools there will be minimum requirements. They might have sort of a minimum cutoff score for you to achieve. So make sure you know that ahead of time so you can plan that into your studying. For English proficiency exams, there are more often, I think almost every school is going to require a minimum English proficiency score. So again, look at each particular school to see what their minimum score is for each of those exams. Typically, I think students will choose just one exam to study for. Usually there's one that they're more comfortable working with. At some schools, it may be an option to waive the GRE or GMAT, or even to waive English proficiency. At Suffolk, we do have those options. Many of our graduate programs do not require the GRE or GMAT, and then there are some that do require them, but have waiver options available. When you are preparing for these exams, make sure you leave enough time in order to first get your studying in. You want to spend a few months just preparing. Ideally, you also have time to take 1 or 2 practice exams before you actually take the real exam. If you can, please also plan to have a few extra months, just so when you get back your first score, if you're not happy or it doesn't meet the minimum requirements, you have time to take that exam again before the application deadline. I think it's much better to have some extra time and submit your scores 6 months early or what have you, than to receive the scores too late to retake, and then you have to wait a whole nother year or 6 months to apply to your program. Next, for the interview, this is a great way for the program to learn more about you as a candidate and as a person. So again, this is one of the few times that we get to hear directly from you, and it's really exciting for us as well. When you are preparing for this interview, just treat it like a job interview. I think most of us are used to those and familiar with those at this point. Make sure you do your homework ahead of time so you're coming prepared with thoughtful questions. I love when prospective students have questions. What that shows me is you've taken the time to really dig in to our offerings, dig into the program, and you're curious, you want to learn more. Next, make sure you're dressing to impress, treat it just like that job interview and be very professional. And then finally, follow up with a thank you note. It is pretty rare that people actually send out these thank you notes, and I think it is an easy and quick way to set yourself apart from other candidates. Next up is work experience. This requirement can vary widely, first in sort of the different types of programs and also from school to school. So at Suffolk University, most of our graduate programs do not have a minimum work experience requirement. It is always beneficial if you do have work experience in the field to highlight that and sort of talk about what role that has played in your decision to apply and how that could contribute to your success in graduate school. One exception to this is, again, in particular at Suffolk, is our MBA program. We do require 1 year of work experience, but we do consider some more high-level internship experience if you've done that during your university studies. It is pretty common to see anywhere from 1 or 3 years of work experience up to 5 years required for an MBA program. So I think this is one of the questions or one of the areas that prospective students sometimes can be most excited about: scholarships. So at Suffolk, every admitted student is going to be reviewed automatically for scholarships, so there's nothing separate that you need to do for that. We are going to be looking most particularly at your previous academic performance, so we look closely at your transcripts. Of course, that is very different from school to school, so look and see what other requirements there might be for you. Sometimes there is a separate application for scholarships, and so you'd want to be on top of that deadline as well. If you do decide to apply to Suffolk and you are awarded a merit scholarship, we do include that information in your decision letter, so you get that right away. One thing to be considerate of is, again, we're looking at your transcripts when we review for merit scholarships at Suffolk. At other universities, they might take in other elements when they review for scholarship eligibility. So I think some more common ones are going to be GPA again, the GMAT or GRE score you submit, or even work experience. Those things can all be important as well. Now let's dive in to speak a little more specifically about Suffolk and our graduate programs. So we have about 50 programs spread across the College of Arts and Sciences and the Sawyer Business School. So my office, the Office of Graduate Admission, we work directly with these programs. Also at Suffolk, we do have graduate law programs. And so if you are interested in those, I have my email address later in this slide deck. So if you're interested, just send me an email and I will connect you with my colleagues in the law admission office. Here I've included sort of the major study areas for each one of our graduate programs. In the business school, there are sort of two main groups. We have our flagship graduate program. It's the MBA program. Then we also have specialized master's programs. So these typically are for students who are looking to get into a particular field and looking to enhance your experience. It is also possible for you to do a dual degree, which I will touch on in 1 minute. In the College of Arts and Sciences, we have a wide variety of programs, which you can see here. They go from higher education to PhD programs in psychology, crime and justice, art and design. We're really here to meet your needs. We also, in addition to our master's programs, we also have dual degrees. So they are exactly what it sounds like. We offer 2 master's degrees. You must be admitted directly into both of those programs. It is a slightly longer time commitment. Usually it takes about 2 years of full-time study, or 2.5. But you do graduate with 2 diplomas, so that is a benefit. It looks like my computer is unplugged, so I'm going to step away for just one moment.
Of course, Emily, no problem. So just a reminder for everyone who is listening, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to type them on the Q&A box, and I will be reading them to Emily at the end of the presentation.
All right, thank you so much.
Everything
Yes,
set
we're
up?
good to go. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, so another very important aspect of the application process is going to be deadlines. So this is not the most exciting part, but it is definitely an important thing to keep on top of so you have full consideration for your programs. There are typically two different types of deadlines. First, they are more strict round deadlines. The other, which we have for many of our programs at Suffolk, is rolling admission with priority application deadlines. So first, I will touch on the round deadlines. You can see those on the right-hand part of your screen. So for medical dosimetry and mental health counseling, we have multiple rounds. If you are very interested in a program, it is always better to apply earlier in round 1 if you can, because that is when the full number of seats are still available for your program. For example, let's just say we have 12 seats available to start. If there are 12 strong candidates that we like and that we want to offer admission to in round 1, that's it. There are no more rounds. If there are only 6 in round 1, then we offer admission to those 6, and then we do open to round 2 and potentially round 3, depending on the program. Again, if you're interested in the program, apply earlier rather than later, just to make sure you have full consideration. Another hard deadline, specifically for us, is going to be our PhD programs in clinical psychology and applied developmental psychology. So you can see we have these deadlines. If you do not have your application in, or we are missing some application materials, after this date, you will not be considered for those programs. It is so important for you to plan ahead and make sure there is plenty of time, even a week or 2 weeks sort of cushion, just in case something gets held up in the mail. For our other master's programs, we have rolling admission with priority deadlines. So those, you have a little bit more flexibility. For the fall, we have 2 priority deadlines, and then the other start terms, you have just 1. So if you are really excited about your program and you decide you want to submit your application by March 15th for the fall, you're certainly able to do that. Submit your application, complete the application, and then we will review once your application is complete. There's no need for you to wait until the deadline to get a decision back. If for some reason you discover one of our programs after the priority deadline, we are still going to be accepting applications on a rolling basis. So essentially that means we review applications once they're complete and up until we're no longer able to admit students. If you are in doubt, again, feel free to reach out to the admission office. We are here to help you. So here is my contact information and the Office of Graduate Admission. If you have questions about any specific programs, please feel free to send me an email. You're also welcome to contact us at gradadmission@suffolk.edu. One of us is always monitoring that email during business hours. You're also welcome to contact us by phone, on our website, or through Twitter or Facebook. So that's it from me. I think we should have some questions in the Q&A, so I will open that up.
Excellent, Emily. Thank you so much. I've learned things that I didn't know. I've refreshed some other things. So this was great.
Wonderful.
Tomás Rodrigo asks if there are any programs to study engineering as a graduate.
For graduate programs at Suffolk, no, unfortunately not for engineering. Certainly happy to talk with you about any other options. Or, Boston is one of the largest college towns in the United States. It's a really exciting place to go to school. So there certainly is another university in Boston that can connect with your need for engineering.
Awesome. And then Julio has a very interesting question. He says, if I apply to 2 master's programs that last 2 years, that means that I will graduate in 4 years?
So it's going to depend on the particular program that you apply to. Most of our graduate programs are going to be about 1 year of full-time study. So that means if you're doing 2, it probably is going to be 2 years of full-time study to complete your dual degree. So there is a little bit of flexibility there, just depending on the particular program that you choose. It could be from about 2 years to 2.5 usually.
Excellent. And then we have one question on the chat that says if you could tell us about your economics and science programs.
Sure. So most of our programs are going to be like program options for those. We have applied politics, we have global public policy. I think those are our closest match to economics. We also have medical dosimetry, 2 PhD programs in clinical psychology and applied developmental psychology. And then we also have a Master of Science in mental health counseling.
Great. And then we have one question that says, do you have a School of Public Policy? And if so, what masters do you have there?
Sure. So we have an Institute for Public Service currently, which is the closest match. For public policy, we have global public policy. And then for other master's programs, I think our Master of Public Administration would be the closest match there for you.
Excellent. And then Julio asks again a follow-up question that says if he can do 2 different masters in 2 different colleges.
Yes, so we do have a few dual degrees that are across colleges, where one program would be in the College of Arts and Science and one program would be in the Sawyer Business School. Typically, students plan ahead for those, so you apply to the dual degree. You might have some flexibility where you can add on a second degree while you're in the beginning stages of your first. If it doesn't really come into your plan until closer to the end of your program, you're certainly welcome to apply to a second master's program, but you would sort of officially graduate with your first degree and then enter as a new student for the other degree.
That's very interesting. Then we have another question that's on the chat that's from Gabriel. And he says, do you have any programs to apply by economics? I assume he means economics or business administration. And what are the requirements for those programs? So economics and business administration.
Sure, great question. So no particular program in economics. We do certainly have an MBA, a Master of Business Administration. For application requirements, it's what you would, expect. First, we need the application, which you can submit online. We need official transcripts from all of your post-secondary studies, so your bachelor's degree and master's or PhD, if you have one. We need just one letter of recommendation. No standardized testing, so no GMAT or GRE required, but we are going to ask for a TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo score if you are applying as an international student. And then finally, we are going to need a video essay from you that's 2 minutes explaining how you see yourself contributing to our program, and then a goal statement as well.
I hope you are taking note, Gabriel.
Feel
Excellent.
free to connect with me later and we can go over that in more detail too.
Awesome. And then Victor has a great question. Are there any programs for agricultural studies?
Ooh, we do not offer that at Suffolk. We're in downtown Boston, so I think that might be a challenge for us. But certainly there are lots of program options for you in New England. It's a great interest. Keep that up.
Yeah, so Paraguay is a very agricultural country. We have lots of land that we use and we dedicate to agriculture. So that's great. Then we have a very nice message and also a question from Alicia Verdum. She says, thank you, Emily, for your presentation and also the Education USA Paraguay staff. I have a question. I'm interested in applying to the Masters of Arts in Global Public Policy, so the MAGPP program. But I am finishing my undergraduate studies next year. So could I apply next year before finishing? So by the time the application processes, my degree is over, right? Like I'll be done with school in Paraguay. So is that an option?
Yes, that is a great question. So yes, you can apply while you are still finishing your bachelor's degree. What you can do is complete the application, submit your transcripts. Obviously, that will only reflect the grades that are available up until that point. And so we will review your application and make a decision based on the information available. Once you graduate and if you are admitted to the program, then we would ask for a final transcript that shows you've actually graduated from your program and received your degree. I think this goes without saying, but also you must have graduated already from your bachelor's degree before you can start with us for the master's.
Great. Then we have a question from Marta. She says, are there any programs for education other than higher education?
Not at the master's level for us, and no PhDs either.
Okay. And then we have two questions from Lucas. Oh, sorry, it's one question, but he made a correction, I see. So the question says, how long does the Master of Science in Accounting, so the MSA, with a corporate, also with a concentration in corporate accounting and finance take?
Excellent question. So it's going to depend a little bit on what you have studied before. So our MS in accounting is pretty special because if you have majored either in accounting or in business as an undergrad, you might be able to waive some foundational business and accounting courses. So your program is shorter and you are also paying less tuition. So typically for a full-time student, it would take somewhere between 2 and 3 semesters of full-time study usually.
Got it. And then we have two more questions. Sorry, just one more question and then a very nice message from Tomas. He says, thank you so much for your time for talking about this and that he finds the topic very interesting. Thank you, Tomas, and thank you everyone for joining. And then we have another question from Hasmin. She says, are there any programs for architecture?
Yes, so we offer a Master of Arts in Interior Architecture. So that is specifically working, obviously, with interiors more with, it's very related to interior design. This can be a great option for people who either have a little bit of experience with interior architecture or who have done studies in other types of architecture. We do have an internship built into the program. We have a very strong alumni network in Boston, so we can really plug you right into our alumni network.
Sounds like a plan. Awesome. And then we have another question from Ruth. She says, thank you. And her question is, are there any programs based on environment or sustainability?
So I think the best option for you might be doing a more general degree. For example, you could do the MBA, but choose to do an internship that really focuses on sustainability or environmentalism.
Hey, and those were the last questions we have. So if anyone has any more questions, we still have a couple of minutes, so you can type them either on the Q&A box, or I see that some people typed it on the chat box. I'm also reading there. And while people are doing that, I would like to just remind everyone that this presentation is part of a virtual series that we are holding about applying to graduate school in the USA. So today was our first webinar with our beloved Emily and Suffolk University. Tomorrow, we continue with Brandeis University, and we're going to be talking about an overview of the business school's academic and scholarship offerings. And then on Wednesday, it will be our final webinar, and it will be with Bentley University about hidden tips and secrets on applying to graduate school. Both of these webinars are going to be held at 6 p.m., just like this one. And you can register for those on our Linktree website. You can email us to get that, or you can just follow us on the social media and you will receive it there as well. So we hope to see all of you there tomorrow and on Wednesday as well. We have one more question, Emily. This is from, I can't quite see the name, but it says, what percentage of the full tuition of international students should expect to pay in average? So is it like 100%?
Great question. So first, I will start by saying that the tuition and scholarship offerings are the same for all of our students. We're a private university, so that means US citizens, international students, in-state, out-of-state, everyone is paying the same tuition rate, and everyone has the same consideration for merit scholarships. So that being said, we do have a wide range of scholarship offerings. I think at sort of the highest end, you can expect about 40 or 45% of tuition.
Great. So I'm just typing in the Linktree account, not account, the Linktree link. So you have it on the chat now, sorry, there you go. So to answer the question that someone sent on the Q&A, so if you can join with this same link to the other webinars, unfortunately you can't, you have to register for those, and you can do that on the link that's on the chat box. And then we have one more question that says, is there a program on biological anthropology or human genetics? Sounds very interesting.
It does, super interesting. We do not have a specific program for either of those fields, unfortunately, but there is a right school out there for you.
Absolutely, just keep looking. And then we have a nice message from Hasmin. She says, thank you very much for the help. And one more question from Lucas. He says, do business master's programs require some sort of internship or practical experience while at Suffolk?
That is a great question. So it is going to depend on the particular program that you apply to. I think especially for business programs, there is a large focus on getting that practical experience, especially for the MBA program. Typically, it is your choice to do an internship if you'd like. Again, if you have previous work experience in the field that you are applying for this program in, it would not be required, but certainly you're always welcome to. We also are, since we're centered in downtown Boston, we have a lot of connections with potential internship sites. So if that's something you are interested in, we're certainly there to support you when looking for that position. We also have the Career Education Center, which is a more general resource for students on campus, so they can support you as well.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Emily, and thank you all for joining. And we hope that you have learned something. I certainly did. And I would also like to pitch in one more time our Education USA Fair that's happening this Saturday, September 19th from 9 a.m. till 12 p.m. Paraguayan time. I just sent the link as well on the chat box, so you can go and register there. And Suffolk University is one of the 100 universities that are going to be participating from the fair. So if you want to learn more about the programs they have, you want to learn more about what are the requirements, and you just want to chat with someone from Suffolk, feel free to join on Saturday. Thank you very much, Emily, one more time. Thank you, Sandra, for your technical support and your moral support on the webinar. And thank you all one more time. So I think we can all leave happy and having learned lots today. Thank you, Emily.
Of course. Thank you all for your time. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank
Have
you.
a great evening. Bye-bye.